This is Fernando Espuelas. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for being with me. Well, of course, one of the major debates which is consuming Washington and the nation today is immigration, and certainly there is an expectation that at some point we're going to have to resolve what everyone says is a broken immigration system. With us now is probably one of the people that will help solve it, Congressman Denham from California. Congressman, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Well, sir, let me ask you the basic question. You're a Republican congressman. There's a sense that perhaps the Republican majority in Congress does not want to advance with the Senate immigration bill. How do you see this situation, and what do you think is the path forward?
Well, I think on any bill, on any major issue, we're going to have differences with the Senate. You know, the Senate has held up a lot of House bills. And, you know, they've sent bills over here that we disagree with. So we believe that the House is going to work its will. We're going to have a full debate on the issue. But ultimately, I think having two houses working together in conference, when our bill matches up with the Senate bill in conference, we're going to work out the best thing for the entire country.
And I've read some of the statements that you've made recently. You're optimistic that we'll have a bill at some point. What do you think is the strategic imperative beyond the emotions on both sides of this argument? As Americans, how should we think about immigration reform? How is this beneficial for America?
Well, we're a nation of immigrants. If we fix a broken system and have a legal immigration policy that works, it's going to improve our economy. It will grow our numbers. It'll make us a stronger nation in all areas.
And so when I look at the economics of immigration, and I've studied this to some length and have really looked at various reports from the Cato Institute, among others, it seems to be that the United States, it's in a unique position, perhaps with Australia, perhaps with Canada, and a couple of other countries around the world, in that we are a country that is welcoming to immigrants, and therefore we're able to incorporate immigrant populations into our workforce without a lot of ethnic tension and pain and suffering. There's been some projections, in particular by the Congressional Budget Office, which show some really positive trends coming out of immigration reform: an increase in the gross domestic product, a decrease in the federal deficit. To what extent are those issues for you personally as a representative from California important? And then more broadly, because California is such a diverse state, do you think reflecting the views of your constituents by supporting immigration reform?
Well, first of all, I agree with the Congressional Budget Office's numbers, but I think that's just a starting point. $175 billion would be used to reduce our deficit over the first 10 years, and over the second decade, it would be $700 billion. Those are real numbers, but I don't think that takes into account the growth in our GDP. If we're able to have greater success in our agriculture industry, if we're able to have greater success in our Silicon Valley or our high-tech industries, we're going to even grow out of this deficit much, much quicker.
And Congressman, when you look at economic growth in particular, and then sort of a subset of that, which is entitlement reform, and also just the reality that we're somewhat upside down in terms of retirees. We have the baby boomer generation retiring in great numbers every single month, and fewer quote unquote active workers to support those programs. What role do you see immigration playing in keeping those Social Security and Medicare, perhaps being the two most important programs, viable long term?
Well, from two perspectives. First of all, we have over 11 million people that are here undocumented today that by moving forward with a legalization process, earn legal status, or legal permanent residence, will not only have them paying their fair share, but will actually help in the overall entitlement system dealing with Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. So, I mean, I think in the short term, just dealing with our current situation will help out those baby boomers that are retiring. But secondly, as we move forward, not only does it help our economy to have a temporary worker program or a guest worker program or a visa system that works, but it also helps as well in those entitlements as well.
And Congressman, last question, and I don't mean to put you in a difficult position because I know there's decorum in the House, and certainly I don't want to put you in a situation where you're commenting too much on one of your colleagues. But I attended recently a Tea Party rally in which Congressman Steve King, who's a very vocal opponent of immigration reform, essentially said the opposite of everything you've just said. I mean, I'll make it short. This will not create economic growth. It will create a tremendous financial liability. It should be killed, and so forth. How do you see that part of your caucus moving forward? Are you going to be, you and your allies, going to be able to overcome that resistance, or is that going to be really ultimately what defines whether this moves forward or not?
You know, I don't look at this as a partisan issue as much as some in the media are making it out to be. You know, this is something that has been worked on in the House for many, many years now. And, you know, even when the president had control of both bodies of Congress, still, even when there was a bill in print, there was a bill that would have been negotiated by both parties, still didn't bring it up. We're always going to have members in both parties that are going to be opposed to Democrats or opposed to the guest worker or temporary worker piece, and others that just want to ignore everything but border security. We've got to get beyond those and actually have the full debate here in the House that deals with issues like dreamers that have come here to no fault of their own and have no country to go back to. You know, as well as a guest worker piece and e-verify for the future to make sure that we have a legal system, that we're not penalizing workers and we're not penalizing employers.
Well, Congressman Jeff Denham of California, thank you so much for spending this time with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate your participation today.